affirmations are simply those statements that we say to ourselves over and over and over again. It could be several times during the course of the day. And affirmations kind of work like this. I'll use this as an example. Most people would agree that you and I, everyone else on this planet, are products or byproducts of the way we've been raised. And that also includes what people have said about us or what they've said to us, and somehow we've adopted some of these things, and therefore we've lived up to those expectations, if you would. So if, for example, you've been, or someone you know has been brought up with the notion that they're not good at math, they're not good with numbers, they're fat, they've always been fat, therefore they will always be fat, they're not smart, why can't you be like your brother, why can't you be more like your sister, or maybe someone has been brought up with the idea or the notion, and again, these are things that they may have adopted for themselves, and they've had plenty of experiences to prove themselves over and over on this, is that I suck at math, I suck at drawing, I'm not good at sports. I mean, these are all negative, but at the end of the day, the point being is that these are affirmations, and we all engage in them in some level. And so, using the same principle, what we're trying to do is we're trying to take the same principle and actually have it work in our favor. And so here are some tips on how to write out an affirmation. And I'll just give you a heads up, if you've never done anything like this, it's going to feel awkward, it's going to feel manufactured and contrived, but just know this, and there's a whole science behind this. I mean, you could do the research and find out that we all engage in affirmations. And I'll just use athletics, for example. Before someone actually steps into, let's say, if a person's a boxer, they usually psych themselves up and get themselves into a state so that they can face their opponents. And they'll say things to themselves like, I'm going to crush them, I'm going to win this, and I'm going to make mincemeat out of the other guy, and that sort of thing. And so they basically say these things over and over and over with great emotion and intensity to get themselves into a state. The same thing applies to, let's say, someone that's swimming. Now, Michael Phelps, probably one of the most decorated athletes to win all these different gold medals. You'll see this, or maybe even gymnasts, but off to the sidelines right before Michael Phelps gets into the water, he'll have headsets plugged into his ears, headphones into his ears, and he's like zoned out. I mean, he's like totally focused. And what do you suppose he's listening to? Okay, yeah, it could be music, but if I had to guess, it's probably something that he just wants to make sure that his head's in the game. Okay, again, he's trying to get himself into a certain state. So affirmations are just simply that. They are statements that we say over and over and over in our heads and out loud to get ourselves into a state and actually program ourselves, if you would, mentally and attitudinally and even physically to get to where we want to go. So there's no necessary order in this, and I would just simply say that these are some elements or components that make up a good affirmation. Number one is the affirmation has to be in alignment with a goal that you've set for yourself, whether it's a professional goal or whether it's a personal goal, a financial goal, a spiritual goal, a health goal. Whatever it is, if you've set a goal, and there's a hint right there that if you don't have a goal written out somewhere or compiled, then it's probably a good idea to first set a goal, an area of your life, either personally or professionally, that you want to have improved and you want to make progress in, and then once you've set that goal or those goals, then you'll want to write out affirmations that are in alignment with that goal. Does that make sense? So the first thing is that the affirmation has to be written out. The second thing that I would say to you is that the affirmation needs to be written out. Okay? None of this, you'll think about it and you'll commit it to memory. Now, at some point, you would have read the affirmation so many times that it becomes automatic, but what you'll really want to do is you'll want to write it out, and you want to to visualize it, you want to see it, you want to feel it, you want to taste it if you can in your imagination. You realistically think that you can get yourself out of debt, let's say within a year, then you can simply say, I am out of debt, and this year is the year that I'm going to be out of debt, 2017. Okay, so again, make sure that it is your goal, okay, not somebody else's goal for you. I think I might have said this, and if I didn't, then I would just simply say, again, you got to write it out. But the other thing is you've got to make sure that it is stated in the positive. I am, not I will not, I will never, I can't, I mustn't. Those kinds of things you want to avoid. You want to talk about in the positive. I am great at. I will. Those kinds of things. Again, do not negate this by just simply writing a negative word in there like I can't, I won't, I will never, but rather I am, I'm going to, I will. Those kinds of things are going to be helpful in writing out an affirmation. And the other thing, I think probably the last thing that I would say to you is that you've got to say these things to yourself out loud. I know it's weird, it's going to be awkward, and so if it's going to be weird and awkward, at least mitigate that weirdness and awkwardness by doing these things when you're by yourself in the car, okay? And hopefully you'll be alone, like I said, in the car, and you're not reading these affirmations out loud, and people are like, what is he or she saying? Okay, make sure that these are, and if it'll take the edge off, do these affirmations or read these affirmations out loud when you are alone. Again, while you're driving. And you know what? You see this in traffic all the time. You know, people are singing, jamming away to their favorite music. I was like, yeah, you know, that kind of thing. But, and maybe you can do that too. There's so much I could say about affirmations because of my personal experience and the amount of research that I've done with affirmations. I would say probably the better part of 25 years I've been looking at affirmations and practicing some of these affirmations, and lo and behold, they actually work. I would also say that you want to keep them everywhere. All right, if you want to carry them around in a stack of index cards, or if you want to post them on little post-it notes. What I would do, and sometimes I've heard of people actually write, and I've done this too, they would take like, you know, the dry erase marker, and they would write on their mirrors in their bathrooms, like, I am a winner, you know, I'm going to go after it today, you know, today is the day, I am going to weigh whatever weight I want to weigh, okay, or, yeah, this is the year where I'm going to be debt-free. And so wherever you are, whether it's you're looking at yourself in the bathroom mirror, or you're driving and you've got a little post-it note on the dashboard, or maybe you're working in front of your computer, and in the corner of your computer, and which I do and which I have, is a little post-it note that reminds me, and when I see it, I'll read it out loud. And so no matter where you are, you're constantly being exposed to these affirmations. What you say to yourself, or maybe what you're saying in your head to yourself, especially as it pertains to this whole strategic planning process that we're going through, you know, it's so important to guard what goes into your head, okay? And the voices that you might be hearing, things like, man, this will never work, you know, been there, done that, why is this taking so long? If that person would only get their act together, you know, then I would make more progress. I mean, all this kind of stuff just works against the process that you guys are engaging in at Gettysburg Construction Company. So I hope, again, that this has been very helpful to you. And certainly would love your feedback. And next time I see you, we'll certainly talk more about this. And so next time I see you, what I'd love for us to do is engage in sharing some of these affirmations that you've written out. Okay, so be prepared to take your index card or your post-it note, or if you've written it in a journal or some notebook, make sure that you have the opportunity that you will be prepared to share with the rest of the team. Now, at the end of this video, I know this is kind of long, but I've included a motivational video that I picked up on YouTube, so it is public and it's accessible, and so no rights, as far as I know anyway, are being infringed. So take a look if you have time. But it's the whole idea of someone now speaking to someone else, encouraging them, motivating them, speaking truth into their life, and causing them to elevate their standard to a higher standard instead of settling for. Okay? And it's the whole idea of going after it, and that there's so much more that that individual could be experiencing currently if they would just simply change the way they think. Okay? And affirmations is simply that. It's just changing the way we think. And affirmations can be most effective, particularly effective, when we speak those words to ourselves, and then we reinforce them by getting around people that will say those things about us too, and they will also line up with what it is that we're after. Again, I hope this has been helpful. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.